All right, it's always a good time talking Miami football with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Please check out my YouTube channel for the best in college football coverage, top to bottom. Subscribe, hit the like, hit the comments, which we don't have to have an issue with that when we bring Cam on. Hundreds of comments each and every time we have him on, but want to remind you as well with the audio, if you just want to listen to the audio, we're on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and Google Play for the complete conversation. All right, Cam, you ready to crank it up? How are things?
Yeah, I'm always ready to crank it up. It's spring break season down here in South Florida. So, lots of college kids making their way down to South Beach and everything. But our college kids are going to make their ways back to the practice field coming up in a little bit here. So it's always a fun time when we get some football around these parts.
I can't say we're getting any doses of spring up here. We had a better February than March. March is looking like January 15th right now. It's just incredible. Just buried in snow. It's at least sunny for the last couple of days. That's about all I can say for it.
Well, I mean, I definitely cannot commiserate with you on the weather as I'm looking out my patio with this bright sunshine and my ceiling fan and air conditioning on and everything. But yeah, it's pretty decent. So at least it'll be warm when the kids. The college kids get on the field and they, work up a sweat for their practices and everything. But yeah, it's pretty nice down here right now.
Yeah, so the Canes hit the practice field this week. And of course, the spring game in late April. We'll all be looking forward to that. I asked a question, Cam, on Twitter a few days ago about breakout players across college football. And that's kind of a buzz term we constantly hear during the offseason. Who's going to be a breakout player? And to me, that's a guy that's either completely obscure, off the radar, maybe just plays on special teams, and a particular team need him to step into a starting role and make an impact and be a good player. Or maybe it's a good player that has the potential to be a great player, an impact player, a national player. Somebody brought forth the name of Gerald Willis, who was a huge big-time recruit, defensive tackle. Give us a player profile on this guy.
Yeah, Gerald Willis is a guy that has all the talent in the world, and he's going to have to play to that level this year for Miami. He's a two-time Scout Team Player of the Year for Miami, which is crazy because he transferred from Florida, where he was like a 4-star, 5-star recruit 5 years ago, and he played in some games for them as a freshman, didn't really get along with the coaching staff or the players there, transferred to Miami, sat out that year, and was Scout Team Player of the Year, played some snaps in 2016, but was injured and got suspended like once, then missed the 2017 season for personal reasons, and everything I've heard is fine, so he's back with the team. But when he rejoined the team last year, he was, again, pretty much unblockable because you got a 4-star, 5-star guy who's 6'2", 285 or 300 pounds, going against second and third team offensive linemen. So, yeah, he's going to eat. So that's why in 2015 and then again in 17, he was the Scout Team Defensive Player of the Year because you have a starting caliber player playing on the Scout team. And that's just, obviously going to go well for him and not the opposing offense. But yeah, Willis is a guy with all kinds of talent. He's mean. Some people circulate on Twitter still. He was going back and forth with one of the other guys in his signing class when he signed with Florida a few years ago, where they were talking about a jersey number and everything. And he was very ornery in that conversation. So he let that be known. So he has that edge to him, and he's, he has the talent. He does good things with his hands. He's, like I said, he's 6'2", about 300 pounds. So he's going to be a defensive tackle, more in your R.J. McIntosh kind of mold than a Kendrick Norton, more of your 3 technique than the nose tackle, if you will. But yeah, he's strong. He's talented. He uses his hands really well. And he's got a mean streak to him, and hopefully he's hungry because, only having played a handful of games in the 2016 season, I mean, he played a handful of games at Florida in 2014, a handful in 2016. So you're talking an elite caliber athlete only having played like 10 or 11 games in the course of 4 seasons. And he's a 5th-year senior now. So even though he missed last season, he does not have 2 years to play. He only has 1 year left of eligibility because your 5-year clock is your 5-year clock. And he doesn't have like a medical hardship, I don't think, to get another year. So, yeah, he should really be one of the starters and one of the key foundational guys on the defensive line. And, he's he seems to be in a better place when you see him on Twitter, just with his conversation and like the way that he interacts with people, obviously drawing rave reviews from the coaching staff and from everything that's been reported. So yeah, Gerald Willis is a name that you might have forgotten about, but definitely a name to know for the Miami Hurricanes, because he's going to have to play a big role for us to be successful this year.
This is not a guy that I remember watching play at all. So when somebody threw out the name, I've got to admit, and I say I watch college football all the time and I'm all over it, but hey, I miss guys. And this is one that I am not aware of, and somebody threw out his name. So I'm looking at the 2016 stats that you're alluding to, and what jumps out to me, for a guy that didn't play much and only had 19 tackles, those were disruptive tackles. 19 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. He batted down 2 passes. So those are like forceful plays in the backfield for only 19 tackles.
Yeah, I mean, when Miami finally went to the Manny Diaz defense with, penetration being by the defensive line being a premium, and then you obviously scheme to have other players behind them cover for those gaps, but more often than not, you want those defensive linemen to get up the field, and that's one thing that Gerald Willis really excels at. Like, I have a gap, and I'm going to get there, and I'm going to beat you. And yeah, like that's 5.5 out of 19 is over 25%, over 1 out of 4 of his tackles were tackles for loss in 2016. So like, he's out there making plays when he gets out there. So that really shows you. And again, I only think he played in maybe 7-8 games that season. So it wasn't even a full real season's worth of work. And obviously there's other guys who were older in front of him and things like that. But 19 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 1.5 sacks, and other disruptive plays. This is a guy that Miami really needs to step up and play to that caliber every single game. But yeah, for those outside of Miami, who are not bloggers or writers or fans, you probably don't really remember him because, again, like I said, he's only played a handful of games in 4 years. But Gerald Willis is an elite talent, and Miami really, really needs him to play like that.